There are a few episodes on the Can't Be Contained podcast that I've recorded over the years where I'm like, I need people to listen to this one again. Like, I want to make sure I surface this episode so that people can get the transmission because it was that freaking good. And this is one of those episodes. Episode 315, I interviewed Cathy Heller on really bridging spirituality and science. Like, her transmissions around abundance, you guys, like, I can't even handle it. It's just so clean, so pristine, and so clear. And I wanted to bring this episode back because it radically shifted me on like a visceral cellular level. And I wanted to do that for you too. I don't know what's going on recently, but there's such a call for me to talk more about women stepping into their wealth, shifting their wealth identity, opening up their visions of what's possible. And I just believe Cathy does such a great job at this. So I wanted to re-release this episode so that you got the transmission. Come over to Instagram after you're done and tell me how different you feel. I know I was really different after this episode. I had a nice, sexy, raspy voice in this episode, so enjoy that as well. You're welcome. We are filling the room for Women in Wealth November 20th and 21st in San Diego, aka Heaven on Earth. I am bringing women together for 2 days of, it's going to be a party, it's going to be deep, it's going to be opening. The whole idea of Women in Wealth is preparing us to have our $1 million year in 2026, really upping the ante of what we thought was possible and stepping into our most infinite freaking selves. And we're doing it in community. We're doing it together. I am bringing in some amazing people to train you in the energetics of wealth so that we can feel confident, secure, aligned. The one thing that I know to be true, I've built multiple 8-figure business. What I know to be true is it's not about my strategy. It's not about working hard. It's not about forcing it. Guys, I've built Pause Breathwork to a multiple 8-figure company, not because I was the smartest person in the room, the hardest working person in the room. It's because I focused on what I'm going to teach you at Women in Wealth above everything else. And it's allowed us to get to where we are today, which is, I look back on it and I'm like, how did I do that? How did I make this happen? And so I want you to just get in the room, just get here. It's going to be freaking amazing. Fly in a day before, hang out with your fellow peers at Pause. I mean, the Pause community is just the freaking best. The Pause community is just the best. Like spiritual people who are on a path to raise consciousness and just be wealthy and have shitloads of fun. Like, do not miss this. Do not sleep on this. It's going to be amazing. You are going to find your best friends. You are going to find the people who you're like, let's do life with. So head on over to pausebreathwork.com/wealth. I'll also put the link in the chat box, but get your booty in the room. It's going to be a party. Just get there. All right, let's dive right into today's episode.
Can't be contained.
I remember going to therapy and saying to my therapist, what is going on with me? I am both enjoying this and hating this. I am both like alive in a new way and miserable. And she said, if you had 3rd-degree burns, what would be kinder if I hugged you really tight or stood 6 feet away?
Yeah. Oh.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Can't Be Contained podcast. I literally have this electric, bubbling, radiant feeling of love in my belly right now because I get to sit down with one of my actual favorite freaking humans on the face of this freaking planet. Cathy, oh my goodness. What the heck, man?
What the heck, man? And that's how first of all, that's how I feel about you. I feel like it's perfect that you named this Can't Be Contained because having you in our midst is like, when you walk in the room, it's like someone brought the moon into the room and you're like, there's moonlight, like pure moonlight. And it takes you to your knees because it's so genuine and it's so loving and it's so brave. And it loves everybody back to life. It's so awesome. And you and I live in a very full world. And we know when we see this vibration that you just cannot deny. It is so sincere and it's a gift from God. So I love that you so generously say that about me, but it's really such a gift to just witness you. And you've brought me home to myself so many times through your own instrument. So,
babe, thank you.
How cool.
Moonlight. As you were saying that, I was feeling so beautiful. I was feeling this moment of being in Joshua Tree and literally watching the moon rise, which was such an interesting experience, and just the beauty. And you took me back to that moment. So thank you for the acknowledgement and thank you for reminding me of that beautiful memory.
It's so fun. I love that you and I love to love people fully. And then we meet people who are like willing to be loved fully and like walk the path with us. And we both have very little resistance in our vibration. And so it's like such a cool thing when you like meet those souls that are just wide open, you know, hanging out in Bob Marley land. Dude, it's really cool.
Willing to be loved fully is a very interesting sentence. And it was one of these things, you know, growing up where I'm like, well, who wouldn't want to be loved fully? Of course people want to be loved fully. And then I got to like meet the parts of myself that weren't willing to be loved fully over the last decade through various like romantic relationships. And I'm like, oh, that actually is hard. There's a kink there. And what is my resistance to that? And being able to like meet that version of me that was afraid to let love in and move through it and alchemize it so that I could receive, you know, the insane love that you pour into me, the insane love that Eric and I have. It's like working that piece of being resistant to love is like such a gift.
I think I shared this with you not that long ago in a voicemail. But when I first came up against this in college, I dated my first serious boyfriend for 3 years. Such a beautiful soul, really good guy. And he would write me poetry and just get me like front row to Dave Matthews. And the best part was that we would drive cross country to Tennessee to see Dave. And then we would drive to Chicago. And the drive across the country was the fun part. And he was just so kind. And he was such a real safe bet on like, my heart was protected. Mm-hmm. And growing up in my house, that was just not the case. You know, my parents were really wrapped up in their own grief and depression. My dad left. My dad lived a double life and would tell me about the woman he was sleeping with when I was 11 years old and tell me how amazing I was, that I was keeping his secrets and how much he praised me for being such a good daughter to hold it all. And so what I'm saying is, in no uncertain terms, it was very different, right? To actually have someone in my life who loved me and I could rest my head, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going to therapy and saying to my therapist, what is going on with me? I am both enjoying this and hating this. I am both like alive in a new way and miserable. And she said, if you had 3rd-degree burns, what would be kinder if I hugged you really tight or stood 6 feet away?
Yeah. Oh.
And she said, when somebody decides to love you and they actually sit beside you and they're right beside you, which means they're not distant anymore. They're willing to be completely present. They are going to touch all of those wounds. And then all of a sudden you don't get to disassociate from them anymore. And all of a sudden you become aware how much pain you've become so good at denying yourself, letting yourself feel it.
Yeah.
And now you want to make it about them. Like, why do you have, I mean, it's actually, this is the scene in Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams goes to hug Matt Damon. He goes, not you, man.
Yeah.
Like, stop. And he actually like punches him, like, and he goes, stop it. And he goes, it's not your fault. And he goes, just stop, please. Just stop, please. What are you doing? And he's like, I don't know how to give you a hug. It's not your fault.
Mhm.
It's not your fault. And he goes, please stop.
Yeah.
And then he hugs him so tight. And that is the whole movie, is Matt Damon letting himself get that hug. And he weeps.
Mm.
He like just weeps because this little adaptation of himself no longer it wasn't available to be loved. So all of a sudden he had to lose this identity that he was so safe in and surrender back, which meant crossing the river of the pain in between this little being that is available for love and the being that had to protect itself.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
And that's why it's one of my favorite movies. But that's why everything you and I are talking about is when you are willing to sit beside the river of yourself and burn through the layers of all the things that are hoping you never face. Yeah. And then you do. Yeah. Your life just gets to become unbelievably magical. But you have to go through that.
I actually, on Monday, when we were on stage together, you were talking about Good Will Hunting. And I was like, I've never seen that movie. So I went home and I watched that movie this week. It's the first time I've ever seen it. And I'm like, where have I been? And so good. It's so good. Wow.
Really, though. Wow. It is like unbelievably beautiful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we talked about this on stage on Monday of the capacity that we get to cultivate, because it's not something that we have. We get to cultivate this capacity to be with the rawness and be with the pain. And, you know, I was sharing with you at dinner on Sunday, like this year for sure was the hardest year of my life. Like the absolute hardest. Coming face to face with the part of me that's like, I don't think I have what it takes to get through this. Like, I don't know if I have the strength to overcome the thing that God put in my path anymore. And then as soon as I come to that place, guess what arises? Another freaking layer of strength. And so we've been in this, Kath, and I've seen both of us go through this. And my question to you is, what advice do you have for the women and men listening to the show right now, where they are face to face with what they are perceiving to be unmovable and it feels like it's crushing them?
I think about I just bought this little plant at the grocery store and it has mint leaves on it. Right. And I thought, oh, that would be nice because it smells good. And maybe I'll use some of the mint in like tea. And we've been keeping it by the window and it's growing. And I said to my daughter, you know, it's outgrowing its pot. So it's going to have to move into a totally other space. And then I was like, and if we do this really well, it'll eventually have to move outside and like be in the earth because it will not be able to be contained inside of this space anymore. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we're being called to have this like identity evolution all the time, which is what our soul wants. We signed up for that. We love that part of the journey.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's more consciousness. Oh my God, I can expand even more. But while it's happening, your ego says, you're going to kill me. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to kill me. And you know what? You are. Like, that level of self will then no longer be necessary. And like that little plant will be discarding its little pot. That's what's happening. However, since you asked the question so beautifully, my answer is that is the design. It is meant to do that. Mm-hmm. And so there is the edge where the part of your brain that wants to protect you says, you cannot do this. Yeah. And it is correct in the sense that you cannot get where you're going from where you've been. Mm-hmm. It will cost you the personality, that identity of consciousness. And the part that loves you so much says, but this is what's keeping you safe, thinking and believing a certain way and living within a certain realm of capacity. And if you go beyond it, what will happen, Moana? That's like she wants to go beyond the reef, right? Yeah. And then she bumps up against herself because she realizes it's all an illusion. There is no brief.
Mm-hmm.
It's the part of her that's going where her soul's already been. You know, our soul is our consciousness, which is beyond time.
Yeah.
So in the multiverse, quite literally, like God is beyond time. I say to people, how much time is there on Earth? They're like, huh? I'm like, it's not a trick question. It's 24 hours. Okay. We can measure it.
Yeah.
How much time is it for a day on Jupiter? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, it's 9 hours and 58 minutes. Like, okay. So when you go beyond the solar system, how much time is there? The answer is it's gone.
Yeah.
It evaporates, which means God is only in the now, and the now for God is the past, present, and future. So what I'm saying is, in the dimension where your soul actually exists, you've already done it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lie that you can't.
Yeah.
And that's why the part of you that is like having a human experience and thinking it's keeping you safe is also, it's also from God. And really, it's your best friend. And it's hoping that you will see through its bullshit. And it's hoping that you will spike the ball, because there'll be another one at the next level too. Hoping that you will. And I said this to you before, I think, but like, without the Joker, there is no Batman.
That's it. Yeah. I love that.
And this part of your like anti-self is the part of you that you came for this video game.
Yeah.
You wanted it exactly like this. And I'm not surprised that you said you had the hardest year, because the most amount of light will create the most amount of shadow. And so where there will be birth of a new light and a new dawn, you will have just created the equal amount of opposition and contrast that you will have to choose against. What makes the payoff so sweet is the courage to know that you're choosing the light when that much more darkness was just emerging. Because that's what happens. That's the duality of like what we're all swimming in.
I sat in my backyard yesterday with something that I do there's two things that I do religiously every single day that are like, you know, another version of church for me. And that is lying down and doing 20 minutes of breath work, and then making a cup of cacao, sitting in my backyard, drinking the cacao, and just like feeling. And I had this moment yesterday where I was like, I'm so fucking proud for not running away. You know, I'm so proud for just like leaning into the darkness, because the lightness and the liberation that I feel now is so worth it. It's so worth it, you know? And it's like, man, how can we just remember moments like yesterday when we're in the deepest, darkest place, you know, and realizing that my soul created these experiences in order to develop the strength and the capacity to hold more light. And I'm going to keep doing that.
It's so exquisite. And the truth is that it's amazing how every single person's journey, if they're willing to take the adventure they've been handed, is like nothing short of epic. Everyone's. It doesn't matter if it's like Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada and what she has to do to find sense of self with this like mean boss, which is really the hologram of the mean part of herself that she has to tell the truth to, or if it's like, or if it's a story about someone in the military. Like, it doesn't matter what the story is you've been asked to live. It's so epic because we're all on our own continuum. And these are the hero's journeys. It's so gorgeous. And I love that you love telling this story and continuing to write your own story in this way. And I love that you are such an incredible facilitator of one of the most phenomenal tools, which I think is really singular to you, because I've done breath work and loved it with other people, truly loved it. But when I do it with you, I really feel like because you go beyond the breath to God, it's something totally different. And you and I share that, you know, and I think it's worth saying, because I've been on silent meditation retreats where there is an incredible amount of peace that gets created in equanimity. And there's a lot to say for John Kabat-Zinn and the kind of work where you bring your body to a state of ease. Like, that is amazing. And we cannot overstate enough how getting into a nervous system state of regulation is such a gift to you and the world. And when I am in Jerusalem and I'm doing a meditation practice, and then from there, I'm going to God and saying, I love how you love me. And I work for you. That is just something else.
Yeah.
And I really think, in fact, you would love this. I'm sure you already know her, but this week, my friend, Dr. Lisa Miller, was in town. If you don't know her, you'll love her. She is a scientist who is so deeply spiritual that for the last 30 years as a professor at Columbia, she's been studying the spiritual brain and what it looks like when people have a relationship to God. And she has been published now in the most advanced scientific journals to be able to show evidence that when we have a divine relationship in our life, not only is there, and she would say it to you, she said it to me the other night, all these scientific words that help us understand how our brain gets restructured, but there's a capacity cognitively that opens up in the brain that doesn't light up in the brain unless we have a relationship with God.
Whoa.
We are actually shrinking our cognitive capacity when the door to the divine stays closed. Okay.
Wild.
And then here's an even crazier thing. They did fMRIs on these monks that came from Tibet. And these monks that were like in this incredible state of super compassion and love and all of this, when they did the fMRI, there was zero activity in the brain at all. And they realized that consciousness and insight isn't even in the brain. What happens first is you open up this cognitive capacity that starts lighting up, and then they witness over time that you pass it completely, and your prefrontal cortex gets so thick, and there's a muscle that blocks the amygdala from secreting this stress, fight or flight response. And then all you're able to perceive like an antenna from your third eye is wisdom that's not even in the mind, which means it's directly from God channeled. Not insane and not insane at all.
It's like
So to me,
insane and of course, you know,
a freaking course. Yeah. And they're doing all this incredible testing now with like, what can spirituality do that medication for anxiety cannot do?
What's her name?
And they have
this woman.
She's amazing. Her name is Dr. Lisa Miller. She wrote a book called The Awakened Brain.
I feel like I need to know her.
And you need to know her. She's been doing this work. She's been doing the science to study what you and I just feel.
Wow. Yeah. We need to get her on the show. And maybe on my board of directors or something.
Quick little pause here because I need to let you in on something that has honestly changed how I run my business. It was so overwhelming. We had so many different tools, emails, funnels, scheduling things, pipelines, payments. It was honestly such a mess. And then I discovered Go High Level. It's literally an all-in-one platform where I can run my entire business under one roof. You guys, it feels so good to go into one platform and see all of our dashboards, the money that we make, the clients that came in, where everybody is. It is so clean and so easy. The automated follow-ups are amazing. The landing pages are amazing. You can even run your memberships and online programs on Go High Level. It's honestly freaking awesome. It doesn't just save me money. It has given me back my sanity in my business because I have complete clarity and confidence where everything is. So if you've been looking for a way to streamline your business, to scale faster, to remove the headaches of like tech and all of that complication and just get back to doing what you freaking love, I have partnered with Go High Level to give you guys a 30-day experience so you can test drive it yourself, see how you love it. Just head on over to pausebreathwork.com/high level. That's pausebreathwork.com/high level. I will also put the link to the free trial in the show notes. And seriously, once you see how powerful this is, you're going to wonder how you freaking ran your business without it. So go to pausebreathwork.com/high level.
You know, I feel like that really truly is such a pathway is creating the connection between science and spirituality, because then people will take you seriously. You know, it's like you and I work in such similar ways where we just show up and see what happens, you know, and just like channel it through. And it's like people feel it because they're like, that feels so real because I'm resonating. And having that layer of like, the reason why that feels true is because here's what's actually happening in your brain. I just think like that's going to be so beautiful for touching the, middle America, people who work at State Farm Insurance who are like not really in our world, So what a beautiful thing. So here's my question, Kath, is I would love to hear from you the way that you see abundance flowing into people's lives through God, if that's how you see it.
Of course.
So kind of like explain that. And
yes.
Tell us your like framework for that. How we don't pedestal money, but we let money, you say it.
Yeah. No, you're saying it. You're saying it all. It's perfect. So let's set the table so we kind of know what we're talking about. Like I love when Martha Stewart or Rachel Ray or Ina Garten is like, here's my cup of sugar, and I'm like, I feel so at ease. I'm like, here's my little tablespoon of time. I'm like, perfect. So let's like set the table with all these things so we know we're on the same page. So abundance, first of all, what the heck does that mean? These words mean so many things to different people. You know that the people who live in Alaska have 70 words for snow because you can't just say snow. They're like, what kind of snow? Is it sleet? Is it sludge? Is it, it's like,
no way.
Right. So it's like these words, they mean a lot of things to different people in different ways. So what does abundance mean? What does God mean? What is this? Some people's version of God is just someone that judges you and punishes you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just fascinating, right? So for me, abundance is fascinating because if I ask somebody, what would you like to manifest that would feel like abundance? They will usually say $5 million, a beautiful car, a beautiful house, a great relationship, traveling the world, lots of professional opportunities. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. That's all beautiful. And then I will usually say, great, I have a question. I think you have way bigger dreams than that. And I'm curious if what I'm about to say feels true. And they'll say, okay. I'm like, so let me know. What about abundance being the lightness of your own being? What about inner peace? What about feeling like you're in a state of synchronicity all the time? What about a mystical experience? What about feeling as though you're having a dialogue with the universe? What about feeling a sense of purpose in your life? What about deeply feeling connected to all that you are? And they literally look at me and they're like, you're right. That is definitely what I want. So then I say, here's the cool thing. You can have all of those things. You can have both lists. In fact, I believe that we are being asked to do both. In fact, there's a line in the Talmud that says that when you get to heaven, you will be asked to answer for everything beautiful in this world that you denied yourself because it's here for the taking. It's all in escrow. And King David, who wrote the Psalms, hallelujah, as I walk through the valley of this man was so deeply in love with God and so wealthy. Okay. So we're not being asked to choose between the two, but separate from all of that. What I think is fascinating is that when we truly think about what we want, and you said what we put on a pedestal, right? Like money, let's say. When you are really whole and something shows up in your life like money, there's no big dopamine rush because you didn't need it. And oh my God, I finally have this thing and now I get this rush. No, it's just actually better than that because you don't need it. So you can actually just appreciate it. If you're in a relationship with someone and you've been waiting for them to come because you don't feel whole, and one day the shining knight in armor is going to come and make you finally feel whole because you don't feel whole in yourself, and you can't wait for that rush of dopamine. He's here and he's here, he's finally here. Then you will be so needing that person that the dopamine will come and you'll be so attached to this person outside of you, loving you enough so that you can stay whole, that you can't even truly appreciate and love this person. If you have children and you're blessed with children and you need them to like you, then you can't just appreciate them because you're constantly needing them to like you and needing them to make you feel whole. So there's a level beyond putting things on a pedestal, which is when you're really in the manifestation zone and you're in flow state, you will manifest so many incredible things on a 3D level. And when they come, they won't really feel like much other than what the moment before felt like, which is sometimes bad news. We're like, wait, I won't feel this big payoff. It's like, no, because the big payoff came first, because the big payoff was you finding the love inside yourself. And then when the thing comes, no, you don't have a big dopamine rush. It's not a big high, but you can find it lovely. The same way that you can find walking in Central Park lovely. The same way that you can, and then you become a steward of more possibility.
Yes.
And this is what abundance is.
That's so good. I think when most people think about abundance, they really tie it to money. And it's like, it's money, it's money, it's money, it's money, it's money. And I love what Abraham Hicks says. She's like, if money feels hard for you, then find something else that rings to the frequency of abundance and practice.
Right. I think because the story we've been reading or hearing or looking at over and over is that the more money we have, the more internally we'll feel we have. The more money we acquire, the more we will feel internally like more. And that's not true. And it's not true about anything. It's not like, oh, the more kids you have, the more you're going to feel something inside of yourself more. Right. It's always the opposite. And it's also beautiful, right? Like anything that you're blessed with is really up to you what you do with it. And so there are people who have money, and if they're a person of integrity, they'll just do more good with it. And if there's a person who's out of integrity, whatever they're blessed with, they'll ruin. They'll ruin their relationships. They'll use money for bad stuff. They'll use the internet for bad stuff. It's all the same. How you do one thing is how you do everything else. So you can make lists of people who do beautiful things with the blessings they have. They use the internet for good. They read good things. They post good things. They have money. They use it for good. It's a story in people's head. When you have the money, you'll finally feel whole. Or if you have the money, you'll become evil. It's like, none of that makes any sense. It's like there is a world that has an escrow account for you of everything you could possibly want. Fun. And the more you love being alive and you find a way to sit on the mat with yourself and love all that is, everything falls out of escrow and it's all there, every blessing. And then it's your job to just keep staying on the flight path so that you're in alignment and you can enjoy these blessings. That's it. But it's all there for the taking. None of it's on a pedestal. None of it's far away. None of it's going to do something to make you feel different about what you feel about yourself inside. We've all been on a beautiful beach at some amazing hotel at some point and not even enjoyed it because we were in our head having a horrible thought. Right. So none of it does anything.
You know what really excites me? I've had the privilege of knowing you now for, I think, 4 years, something like that.
That's great.
And I feel like I've had this like really beautiful front row seat to the way that you live life and your abundance in all ways that pours to you and through you, and the amount that you like recycle wealth and just give and receive, and it's just freaking effortless. And I'm like, oh, it's so good. And now you've taken all of the Cathyism and you've poured it all into this brand new book, which I've had the privilege of receiving and reading this last week. So thank you. And my question is for people, for women in the world who have these gigantic missions. I'm speaking to my audience because I know this is them. They have these gigantic missions. They have these spiritual gifts. They want to give back. They want to just be of service. It's so good. And then they just hit the money block and they're like, oh, but clients, and I don't know how to market, and I don't know how to, like, watching you do business, Kath, watching you do business from this just purely overflow abundance place is like actual magic. I'm like, the first time I met you, I was like, who is this woman? So can you speak to those women who are listening? They have massive missions. They believe in themselves, but every single time push comes to shove with money, they get a little kinky, and not the like good kind of kinky, like the kind of kinky that we don't want.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things going on. So let's kind of piece it apart. I think, first of all, what really helps me a lot is understanding that the whole world is a world of oneness, right? You know, when Abraham said there's one God, what that means is God is one, is that you and I are not separate, right? Einstein said that we only see through the eyes of separation because the eyeball sees things in cubes. But if you were to take psilocybin, you would see the world more like how it actually is, which is all frequency, all like waves in the ocean that are all part of the same ocean, and there's no separation. And why that's important is because the mind tells you a story of separation, which is going to lead you to scarcity. Like, who would I be if I had more money? I'd be taking something from someone else. Like, no. Like, if there is a forest and the redwood tree said, who am I to thrive? They're going to actually wind up killing the entire forest.
Totally.
My daughters and I went to the May River in South Carolina, and we were swimming with dolphins, and it was just so unbelievably beautiful. And then we saw these oyster beds, and I didn't know anything about oyster beds. That was the first time I'd like seen them, and they're so cute. They're actually like Brita filters for the water. They spit the water back and they filter the water, which is, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And it was really cool. The captain who was out with us on the water, he said, do you see how they're spitting? And I said, yeah. He goes, isn't that amazing? They clean all the water, right? So that the oceans stay alive. And that's their little job. Right? It's wild. And so he said, have you heard of red tide? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And he's like, that's because if oyster beds dry up, the water won't be filtered, it won't be clean, and and you realize then we'll all die, right? So we're all connected. These little oysters that I didn't even know what they do, right? They're actually keeping us all alive, and we're all keeping us all alive. And so if you have a garden and there's something that's diseased, you have to weed it. You have to take it out because it'll affect the whole garden. But if you have something that's thriving on behalf of the whole garden, it's doing its job. It should pollinate, it should grow. So there's nothing in nature. There's no eagle that says, who am I to fly so tall? There's nothing in nature that doesn't thrive because it knows its job. Mm-hmm. Its job is to be humble before God and say, let me do my job. Mm-hmm. You decide what everybody's role is and what everybody needs to get. I'm supposed to do my job and have the abundance on behalf of the collective. So when one person paints their house and improves the look of their house, they just added value to their neighbor's house. Their neighbor's house went up in value because their house is now nicer. Yeah. When you put a store on Main Street, you just created value for everybody else who ever wants to create a store in Main Street, right? So that's one thing, is the really getting that the oneness. Yeah. And to go along with that, I'll just say the word currency, which is money, comes from the word current.
Yes.
It's got to keep moving. And so you become a steward of more of a resource that you can now buy things. You can hire people. You can be in the market. Your money goes in the bank. It immediately funds people's, student loans and mortgages. We're all one. Like, we're all helping each other. Okay. So that's really big. Yeah. The second piece is women, I think by and large, are afraid of their power. Like, if you allow yourself to just unleash and take the ceiling off of what you receive, you're going to need a bigger pot. Like we talked about, you're going to outgrow. And I think there's a fear that you will outgrow the people in your life. Mm-hmm. I think there's a fear because as women, we are raised not to be providers necessarily, but to be pleasing. And the way that we feel we can control and be safe is to not outshine, especially other women. Like, being thousands of years conditioned in the world, if a woman sees a man succeeding, there's like a feeling of respect. But if a woman sees another woman on her way up, there's a feeling of being very confronted because it's like, who is she to do that? I don't let myself do that. And we want everyone to be okay. We want everyone to like us. When really, if you rise and you realize that the most relatable thing is not how much money you have or don't, it's how loving you are. Yeah. So that's it. And if you step into your full power and realize that the most powerful people are the most loving, then you can just receive and enjoy it and feel sexy and alive and loving and full. And you will wind up helping other women rise because it's so obvious that you're coming from a place of true power, which is this loving, willing steward for God's light, and you're willing to receive. And you're willing to not let your ego get in the way of that.
Yeah.
And to make up a story about your little ego's worthiness. Your soul has the capacity to love the whole world.
Yeah.
And therefore, it should have the capacity to receive an infinite amount, because the heart takes in an infinite amount of blood, whatever is the max, and gives it right back. So the figure 8, the number 8 is abundance, because it just comes in and goes out and comes in and goes out. And so I think along these lines, Mark Groves, who's a friend of ours, he says it so well that people always choose belonging over authenticity. And I think it's because if you really think about the money piece, at a certain point, if you really want to allow the money to come in, you have got to be visible. And part of being visible means standing out. And when you stand out, you will not fit in. And it will cost you fitting in order to stand out.
Yeah.
And a lot of women are not willing to not belong to everybody.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you're like, you know what? When Jim Henson started, he didn't fit in. He stood out. A friend of mine said to me, when people put things out in the world, the first thing they do is usually the sum total of everything else they've already seen, because they don't want to say something new because they're afraid.
100%.
But eventually, if you're going to be successful, you can't regurgitate the average of everything. You have to say your own thing. And there will be people who don't like it. And that's why it will actually work, because you won't be saying the same thing that everyone already echoed, which is why it will stand out, which is why it will serve value, because you have now discovered you do have a point of view. You do have a gift. And the wood instruments in the orchestra are not the brass instruments. And the brass instruments are different from the triangles and from the bass. And it's important that they don't all sound the same.
Yeah.
And so I think that journey of being in your power and letting it be and being unattached to the way the world responds is letting go codependency that is the cross that women bear.
You nailed that. I look at my own journey, and I'm naturally just like a weird person. Like, I'm a little weird. I'm a little all over.
For me, it's like the best. Like, I want you to like be even bigger, and you are the biggest version of you. You're probably the biggest disco ball of anyone we know. And for me, it's like, thank God. It's like liberating.
But I still don't feel like I'm 100% liberated. And it's so interesting. It's like 2020 fucked me a little bit, because I was a little bit outspoken, and then like felt I said the thing that no one wanted to say. I did the thing that no one, and then I like, you got snapped. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, and that took like a year for me to like get my weirdness back and get my shininess back. But I still think that there's other levels, like I was reading a book last night called The Obvious Choice, and it just talks about like the marketplace. It's like, I don't have to have like the absolute best product. I just need to be 100% me and not conform into any, like, and to your point, it's like us all giving ourselves permission to be the disco ball, to be the weirdo, to be like, what are those weird quirks and everything that you do at home? Like, how can you share that with the world? Because that's what people want.
When Jesus first came, and spoke, people had a really hard time hearing it. When the Jewish people were at Mount Sinai, before Moses went up to the mountain, God spoke directly to them. And do you know that it says in the Bible they all passed out because they couldn't handle that much direct truth? So Moses went as an ambassador to download it.
Wow.
What I'm saying is, like, Galileo, if you listen to the Indigo Girls, you can learn a lot of history, but Galileo was ridiculed for saying the things that he first said, until everybody just said, oh, of course that's true.
Yeah.
When people think down is up and up is down and they don't yet know, and you come and reveal like, hey, I love you so much. I will sit beside you and tell you it's not your partner. It's the part of you that you don't want to face. Like, at first, that's very confronting. Or when somebody's like, got really strong views politically and you're like, I love you. And the most impressive part of you can really hold space for a lot. And they're like, don't even say that. I'm so scared when you say that. You scare me. Right. And it's like, no, like the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh would not be sitting here commenting hate on people's profiles because they're in the oneness, right? They're in the oneness. So that's very confronting at first. And yet, I think for people who are called to lead, that is going to be the assignment, is to just, my friend Alex Benayan, are you friends with Alex? Did you guys?
I don't think so.
Okay. Alex is incredible. And he wrote a book called The Third Door.
I've heard of the book, but I think through you.
Yeah. He wrote this book. And when he was 19, he dropped out of USC and said, I'm not learning anything in college. I want to learn from real people. So he set out to interview Steven Spielberg and Maya Angelou and Lady Gaga and Warren Buffett. And he did. Anyway, long story short, he said that he realized that all of these people were outliers. Like they all took this third door. They didn't go he says, if you go to a nightclub, there's people waiting in line. Okay. Yeah. And they just wait in the first line, the first door, and they just wait their whole life to be chosen. That's so lame. And then he said, there's the second door for people who are on the VIP list, but not everyone is. Yeah. So what if you're not? What do you do? And then he says, there's the third door for people who always know there's another way in and they go and find it. Right. Yeah. But here was my most fascinating takeaway from him. He said the hardest part is not finding the third door. The hardest part is leaving the line.
There you go.
For the first door.
Preach.
Because the people around you growing up, it's like Moana on the island and everyone's saying to her, where are you going? Mm-hmm. You'll die out there. Mm-hmm. This is your family. And there's a real thing to feeling disloyal to the family blueprint, how they think, how they feel, how they receive the money, the way they think about people with money. All of that feels like a betrayal. Mm-hmm. And you feel as though you're going to lose everyone who you've been standing in line with if you leave. Yeah. And I thought that was just really powerful. I'm friendly with Jillian Michaels. She was on my show. And she told me this amazing story that she was working on The Biggest Loser. And one year they decided to do 2 seasons in one season. And she said to the producer, this is such a bad idea because if you try to shoot more episodes and you give them off for Christmas break, then we're going to lose them. And the producer's like, no, they'll be fine. And their show has good ratings and we're making money. So let's do double. Yeah. So they're shooting this episode. She's doing this, thing. And she's like, oh, this is not going to work. And she's been working with this one guy. He loses all this weight. He goes home for 10 days for Christmas and New Year's, comes back, puts all the weight back on.
Of course.
And she said, what happened? And he said, my mom is very obese. And when I got home and she opened the door, she looked at me like I have abandoned her because I lost the weight.
Oh, wow.
And I put it all back on. So the journey across the river to being in your power means really saying to yourself, who does everybody get to become when I stop worrying about what will happen to everyone and I just take the path that God has laid out for me? And I believe in the highest version of everyone. And I know that even if I'm confronting people, when I'm making money, when I'm out there like a disco ball, maybe that too is a blessing. Like you're welcome. Like if it's triggering, you're welcome, because hopefully it'll trigger you enough to find the highest part of you that's ready to rise.
Totally. That's a beautiful concept and such an interesting thing to explore in ourselves. And every single trigger is a teacher. Every single trigger is a teacher. And how can we establish the witness, the part of us that's just aware of everything that's going on? I have this part of me that's just aware. She's observing the conversation. And even when I'm saying things sometimes, even when I'm heated and I'm saying something to Eric, this witness is like, you're not making any sense. You should probably just stop saying that. Right. But it's this idea that every single contraction is rich with all of these beautiful lessons. Jealousy is a beautiful teacher. Jealousy is an incredible teacher. It's I'm never going to be jealous, right, of a nuclear scientist because I know that's not in my makeup. But if we double click into the things that we're jealous of, maybe it's a part of us that is fully expressed in the external world that we've not given ourselves permission to fully be. How cool.
I love it. And recently I went to go see Byron Katie, who's like up in Ojai. And that's exactly what her work is, right? The turnaround. It's like, I'm so angry at this person. Oh, I'm really angry at myself, right? And the distance between the first sentence and the turnaround is quite far because it feels so much safer to be in the state of blaming what if only it could change outside of you, this person, this circumstance, you could be free. When really it is the teacher that's come to show you where you're not letting yourself be free. So I went on this day-long workshop with her, and it was a few weeks ago in Ojai. And I said to my husband, you need to take our daughter to a birthday party, and she needs to be there by 11 a.m. and I'll be gone and I'll be back at like 6. And okay, fine. That sounds simple enough. And I'm at the workshop and I'm trying to be all enlightened. And he's texting me, I can't find the keys. And the story that comes up in me that literally brings me to tears was, I have to do everything on my own. Nobody's there for me. And how come there's not one thing he can take off my plate? And I start crying. And I'm like, I can't have one day where I'm free. This is my story. Oh my God. And so I start doing the work because she has us all writing it down. Who are you mad at? What's the thing? Blah, 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 blah. And it was really painful in the moment because I was like, this is like a perfect piece of evidence. If she only knew, she's on stage, I'm in the crowd, but she doesn't know that I have real evidence to show that I'm on my own and I can't get one piece of help. But eventually I came to like, okay, it's probably that I abandoned myself. I'm not there for myself, or that I don't ask for help enough. And long story short, I'm driving home and my sister's driving and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and 10 minutes before we pulled into my house, I reach into my bag. I had his keys, which is why he couldn't drive her to the party. We were in my bag. And I was in such a state the whole day. I was like, oh my God. First of all, God is so loving with such a good sense of humor.
Oh, completely. Completely.
Like, I did not want to let go of the story that no one can help me. And here's another piece of evidence. And legit. And so my sister says to me 10 minutes before we pull into my house, she's like, do you remember how I always say that the people who love you really want to help you, but you don't necessarily set us up to help you because you won't ask for what you need. You'll just assume it's on you. So she said, do you remember the other day when we were going to go to Ojai for this? And I said, did you set Lowell up for success? Did you say, here's what I need. Here's what I need you to take her. She's like, because if you had really known you were supportive, you probably would have checked and said, here, babe, make sure you have your keys. Right. But you're so already ready to manifest that no one can help you. You literally took away his capacity to help because he didn't have his keys.
Wow.
So it's like, it's just the world inside of ourselves is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you the story that when we were dating, my husband and I, we were engaged, and I was buying a car. My lease was up, and he's like, well, let me go with you to look at a car. So we go to the Acura dealership, and he's like, why don't you get an SUV in case over the next 5 years you have a baby, we have a baby, then you have a. So I'm like, okay. So at some point we pick the car we like, and he's like, let me go in and talk to the guy, and like, I'll be the bad cop, you be the good cop. Let me see if I can negotiate him down. So I'm in the lobby waiting. He comes out, hands me the keys. I go, okay, so what's the deal? Like, literally, how much is it? And he's like, oh, I just bought it. And I go, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I just bought it. I got a good price. And then I gave him a check, and I brought a checkbook. And I'm like, I start hysterically crying, like crying to the point where I was aware at that moment something's really not right. Yeah. So he's like, why are you sobbing? I'm like, I need you to take it back. I need you to go in there. I was literally livid at him. I was forcing him to go in there because I felt so unworthy of that gift. My dad left when I was 12. No one has bought me anything. And he's going to buy me a $48,000 car. that did not feel safe when all it was a gift. He's like, we're getting married in 3 months. Don't you just think I should pay for it? At the time, he was the provider person, right? And I'm like, what does this mean? I owe you. I was crying. Oh, I can't be obligated like that. I can't pay it back. I don't know. And he goes, yeah, you do not have to pay me back. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be. I don't know. I don't want the pressure. He's like, you don't have any. I go, but there's so much now. You put so much on me. I don't know and I'm like, it's just, please don't do it. Like, I'll pay it out and this and that. And he's like, oh my God, no one ever took care of you. Like, you're so out of practice. And then he said to me, love is not something you have to earn. You don't have to earn more of this. You don't have to prove yourself more. You don't have to go do 15 handsprings so that you get to keep the car.
Yeah.
And I was literally like shaking. I was like, because it was reorienting my entire wiring.
Yeah.
And so here's the deal. And you and I have talked about this. When you want to feel better because you want more money, you want a better relationship, you want better sex, here's what it's going to require. You have to stretch your capacity to feel good. And when it first shows up, it actually hurts.
Yes.
Because you're like, I don't have the tools for this. Like if I was a 75 watt light bulb and you tried to shine through me 100 watts, you'd break me.
100%.
I don't have the capacity for 100 watts. What are you doing? Right? And I think that if you look at the world, the only thing God wants to give the world is light. And we are ascending, hopefully, to have a bigger capacity to hold the light, because when we don't, it feels like destruction because you couldn't make it make sense. You're like, it was just being kind. You're like, no, you wanted something. It's like, yeah, because you just hit the end of your neural pathway.
Yeah.
Your little self doesn't have the nervous system wiring in the breaker to hold the electricity. You have to stretch and say to yourself, it is safe to feel even better. It is safe to be even more abundant. You and I both know, every time some giant opportunity comes pouring in, which you and I, thank God, are like brave enough to manifest, at first it's like your knees almost feel weak. You're like, here we go again. Like, little do they know, this is a stretch and a half. Like, I'm at this beautiful resort that was all paid for. And like, whoa, my nervous system is like, come on, like you're going to be okay. And your body goes, not safe. No.
Abort mission. Get out of here.
Because your body says, I don't have any reference point for this. So it clearly must be dangerous. And then your soul says, no, this is what it feels like when things are good. It's like when you have a friend, my mom, don't have to look further than that, was in an abusive relationship with my father who hit her and yelled at her and was drunk and cheated on her. So when my dad left and she wound up going on one date in the last 30 years, never again, never followed up with the guy, but had one date. And he was so nice. And she's like, what's wrong with him? Never went back because it's not familiar. This is why it would be she thought it would be more familiar to like fix somebody. That's what she knew. Someone who's like a monster, but nice sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden some really nice guy came along and I remember seeing her so happy for like a night. And she's like, he's handsome and he's really sweet, but like, what does he want? And like, he introduced to her by a really close family friend who was like a really good reference point. And then she called me. She goes, your mom can't be in something functional because she's been in such toxicity. She can't handle, it's like getting off sugar. Your body's like, get me back on sugar. It's the same stuff, but you're doing that. So then when you really think about it, you ask people, do you really want to manifest that? Are you really ready? Because you're going to have to burn through the part of you that is addicted to feeling bad.
Yeah, it goes back to
We're only feeling good at a certain point.
100%. Like, do I have the worthiness and the level of self-deserving to actually receive that and rest in it? Like, like, can I rest as these things come in? Can I rest?
And by the way, this is why for me, it's God or bust.
Yeah, dude.
Because
God or bust. We need shirts.
Yeah.
Let's get shirts.
Yeah. Because the reason that this really has worked out for me to keep evolving, even though it's scary as shit sometimes, is because this for me started in Jerusalem. For 3 years, charging my batteries with what really is unconditional love. And God's love is the only thing we ever need. And when you feel it, really feel it, it will keep you safe. It will let you expand because you will say, hey, God, I'm going to need your help.
Yeah.
Because I you know what I've walked through. I really need your help.
Yeah.
And then he'll show up
100%.
because he knows. And he's the only one that can actually get you across the ocean. And then you realize that when you're in flow state, all you're doing is creating a vessel for his light.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it. Like earlier this morning, I called my friend, Christina Perry, because she said to me, can you leave me a voicemail? She goes, I'm about to walk in and sing for Julie Andrews, and I just need your,
what a sweetheart.
So sweet. So I left her a voice note and said, you don't have to do any of it. You just have to raise your hand and let God sing right through you. Just know, like, he's got it. And the only thing that you can do, which you do well, is like, you're just like this sweet soul that's loving in the space, which is the only thing people ever find impressive anyway. But the acrobatics and the tennis match and the stuff, like, when Serena Williams is in flow, that's God.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
She is the vessel.
100%.
He is the author. She is the pen. The words are coming through. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
That's why, by the way, creativity feels so good. Because when you're leading a breathwork session, when I'm leading a meditation, when I'm doing a podcast, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just like, I'm in flow, right? Which is all his light. It's all his light.
It's so good. It's so good. And it's energizing and it's life-giving and it's healing and it's healing us and healing them simultaneously. And there's this co-nourishment that's happening. It's just like, the best.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah.
Cathy, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that I get to walk this planet at the same time as you. I'm so grateful that I get to
Me too. Same. Thank you.
I'm so grateful that you've taken your God-given gift and now channeled it into this epic new book, Abundantly Ever After. Let's go.
Let's go.
Where can we buy the book?
Buy it, for God's sake. It's actually a lot about God in this book. And I think you and I do a good job of making God feel accessible to people. Which is one of the things I want to do with my life. So anyways, you can go anywhere. You can go to Barnes & Noble, Target, Amazon, and then go to cathyheller.com/book, because then we will email you really juicy bonuses, like a 2-hour class on manifestation made easy and a meditation from me and stuff that just probably will create a lot of value for you.
Amazing. Amazing. cathyheller.com/book is the URL to go. And then once you guys buy the book, take a screenshot of it, send it to support@pausebreathwork.com, and we'll give you a free year of the app. So buy a $20 book and get a $70 app, plus all the bonuses that Cathy's giving away. So get your booty over there. cathyheller.com/book is where you can get it. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that your work is going to have even more ripples in the world, and your podcast.
People can find me on the podcast, which is on Spotify and Apple, and it's called Abundant Ever After Podcast. So very similar theme. And thank you for doing just like this incredible like sound and light show with your life. It's a sound and light show. It's fireworks. It's a sensory experience. It's an intellectual experience. You being in the world is like just a full on lived, alive experience. And it's awesome.
Thanks, babe. I appreciate you so much.
I just love you.
I want to see you again. Let's do more things.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Can't be contained.